Hey there, viewers. Welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Working on a 2012 Chrysler 200. It's got the big, big one, the big 4-cylinder. Customer complaint on this one is lower, no heat out of the dash, and they requested to have the thermostats replaced and flush out the heater core and replace the coolant as well. So that's what we're gonna do. But I just looked under here. I'm wondering if I see a coolant leak. We better have a little gander before we get too far. Yes, sir. So I just lifted this up before I started talking to you folks, and I just happened to see this. Got a couple little drops of coolant right here, but that's coming along the edge of the oil pan, goes around to the upper oil pan, and then heads right that direction, which is the same direction as the thermostats. And it looks like I can see some moisture on the bottom of it. It's a plastic housing, so it doesn't surprise me. This thing's stone cold. I just started it up just long enough to bring it inside. And oftentimes, that plastic to metal union, whether it's a thermostat or whatever it is, will have a real tendency to leak, especially in the cold temperature. So we're gonna keep on keeping on, because like I say, it looks like it's coming up from that direction, and the thermostat's a big monstrosity of a unit. However, to get to the peacock, so we can drain this little guy, we've kind of got to get in here. I've got to let this corner plastic down if we can. I'm surprised these came out. Usually these things snap clean off. We'll get some of these plastic jiggly bits out of the way, pull this down so we can hopefully get to the peacock and drain it, which I believe comes out of this hole right here, if you can see that. So that's where that little guy lives, sits right up there on the side of the rad. Like I say, kind of a pisser to get to with all the plastic bits on. But it does drizzle out the hole. So that's that. We'll wait for that to kind of finish peeing there. We'll take the radiator cap and stuff off, and that'll help that out. Okay, well, we're waiting on that. We'll make a little bit of room over here. We'll get this stuff out of the way if we can. That'll free up some space. Oh, let's have a gander at the new one. Got it from Napper, not a sponsor. Never gets old. Illegal in 9 countries. Look at that, fancy. She's a twin thermostat. She's got two thermostats, one here, one there. All right, and then we have a gasket. We do. Okay. Looks like 3 bolts hold her on. We got 2 heater hoses left. The 3 bolts, obviously. Then there's going to be an O-ring on a pipe that runs that direction. I think we're going to leave the heater hoses hooked up. We're going to crack her loose. It looks like there's enough slack and we might be able to sneak it ahead a little bit, make it a little easier to get to those. Oh, and yes, this is where it was leaking down around and on the bell housing. And, you know, down around the front and all that stuff. We did verify that. But that is not the customer's. They didn't have a complaint about that, nor is that the cause of the lack of heat. The cooling system was, you know, totally full. Ooh, she's nasty. Oh, I thought that was some nasty nasties. It's not. A little bit, but not terrible. Hey, just pretend most of that went in the bucket. That's the best thing we can do. I think some of it did. Oh yeah, all of it. It all went in the bucket. Yeah, so some of this crap gets in the, it's kind of gritty, gets in the heater core, starts plugging stuff up. We're going to see if we can't blast it out, but we need to gain access to these hoses, which that definitely makes it easier. Like that. Great. Grab our pliers and our pick again. Definitely easier, better ways to do this than how we're doing it, but this is how we're doing it. Get these clamps to slide back and then we can get them hoses right off, no problem. There's one. Hey-o. Little finger snappers, those things are. If you know, you know. It'll get you. Okay, there's that. So there's your thermostat. Easy. Drain that in the bucket. There's one of them. But yeah, you can see it's got some of the... Oh, that's weird. It has like a coating on it. It's almost like an epoxy. Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely has some stuff on there. Interesting. Okay. Let's see if we can't get her blasted out. Yeah. Kind of got this coating on everything here. Hopefully this doesn't become a problem for them. How the heck do you get all that crap out of the block? Hopefully it's all kind of stuck stationary. Till it's not. Almost have to have some kind of chemical flush to get that crap broke loose, but it seems to be stuck pretty hard until you pick at it. It's on this side, but not on this side. That's weird. I don't see it in the pipe. I only kind of see it in maybe in areas where the coolant flow isn't high. Yeah, a little bit up here. Yeah, it has a little bit of this sludge. It doesn't feel gritty though. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, just barely. Well, let's see if we can't blast that out into, we'll put the cap back on it. We'll see if we can't blast into that hose. I've got the lower hose pointing down in our catch pan. We'll see if we can't blast that out. And then I'll get some extension pipes on these heater core hoses. See if we can't blast that out before we put this little guy back together. see how this goes. I imagine it's going to agitate up into the overflow there, which we'll have to drain that out as well. Get this kind of stuck in here, get her flowing.
Alright, let me see if there's any junk still here. That looks like it moved. Oh, it moved it along nicely, actually. I was expecting less. Not gonna lie. Alright. Well, let me get the stuff. We'll do the heater hoses. I'm gonna do this a little bit more, just kind of make 100% sure. But you know there's gonna be junk sitting in the radiator, I'm sure. But we'll do the best we can. Got the radiator. I went forward and backwards on the radiator several times, kind of blasted out the block the best I could till it's blown out that hose pretty well over there. And then these here, I'm just going to hook these heater hose extensions on here so we can kind of blast out that heater core. I don't put the clamps on these just in case. Kind of gives it a spot to blow apart, if you will. Easier. Alright, I'll stick one of these down here. Oops. Got a little blaster up here. So this gives enough agitation. Usually if there's sediment and junk in there, it'll break it all loose. So, and with this I like to go both ways as well. So we'll stick this one downtown here. We'll grab this little guy. And also I don't put the, I don't stick this hard connection on here. I just kind of hold it tight. Gives it a little relief in case something catastrophic were to happen. Whoa, dude, that one's pointing right at me. Let's see, where's that? Where my hose at? Let's go point that in a different direction here. Underneath the car. Try to do it without getting wet here. Get it all in the bucket. You know how it goes. Alright, let's see if this works. Close enough. This is always our first attempt in lieu of replacing the heater core. And I'll be honest, on Chryslers, it's if you catch them soon enough, usually you can remedy the complaint. However, if it's really bad, and this generally doesn't work, I don't know what it is about the design of Chrysler heater cores, but they must have really tiny passages that plug up easily. I've done heater cores in these and the pickups, and you know, the Jeeps and all that. They're not terrible to change, but this is always our first attempt. It's the most cost effective. Alright, well I think that's going to be it, folks. We'll get things blown off here, try to blow the rest of the water out of the block, and finish blowing out the heater core hoses. And we'll blow off some of our connectors we got water in, but I think that's going to be as good as it gets. And we'll find out when we put it all together. Now, I did not drive this car prior to working on it, so I don't know what the situation was, but we do know it was bad enough for the customer to make a complaint and make an appointment and say, my heat's not that good. So if we get better than not that good, well, I think we'll have success. Let's see, a little silicone lube. We got a new O-ring there we're gonna stick on in a moment. Let's clean this off here real quick. It's not too bad, but get some of these crusties off there. Alright, not too bad. I went ahead and put the petcock back in underneath. Put the plastic shield back up on there. Of course, prior to doing that, I think I had mentioned about blowing everything out. So I blew the block out the best I could, and the radiator and the heater core and all that. So I've got all the junk blown out of it. We'll swap out this O-ring here. It goes on this pipe. I assume goes over to the water pump. The O-ring's cooked right on there. And get underneath it. There we go. Oh, yeah, she was cooked on there pretty good. So there's the old O-ring. Stick that there. Slide the new one on very gingerly. Lube her up with a silicone. That should be good. Well, let's see. We've got our new thermostat here. Got the old bolt sitting up there. Wipe the old junk off them. They look to be pretty clean. Okay, not bad, yeah. So we're good with that. Let's see, we're gonna have to line up our heater hoses. That didn't seem to work out too bad coming apart. I'm gonna take this thermostat off here so we don't drop it. Is that key weight? It is. It has a key weight on it. It's key weight like that. We'll probably rotate that though, so the jiggle pin, so the bleed hole is at the top. They have it sitting like that. I believe it should go with the hole at the top. That way there we don't have any problem trapping air in there. Once we get her fired up, before we fire it up. Okay, that's the easy part. Easy peasy. Let's So we're gonna pop this back off. Kind of orient it there a little bit so we can see. It doesn't have to be perfect, we just want it a little bit closer than it was. Okay, that's back on there. Lined up. The hole is almost perfectly at the top. We're going to move it just a little bit. We're this close to perfection. We'll go all the way. So the little guide ends up being just right next to the little standoff there. Okay. That looks good. That gasket's in place, our O-ring is in place. We still have to put our sensor in there. Gonna slide her back, get it guided in the pipe. And let me put the thermostat in the housing here the correct way. What a ding dong. You guys got to watch it live. We're going to do a 360 no scope on that. What a ding dong. The spring side goes into the housing. I was testing you. Y'all passed. Gotta line that up like so. We'll get our bolts started here. You wanna write something down?
Sure.
I just made a mistake. Go ahead and write that down. That way you can use it against me at some point.
Yeah, what's the mistake? Tell me.
I can't tell you the specifics.
I can watch this video.
You gotta go watch the video.
Oh, good.
So you didn't just come out to say hi. And,
I was gonna tell you how great you are, but if you're out here making mistakes, forget about it.
wow, that's deep. Really cuts me to my soul. Do you need to see me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, oh, Miss O, she's a nice lady. That's why I married her. Okay, all the bolts are started. Stick it on the old torque wrench here. Make sure the gasket's still looking in place. Thermostat has not fallen out. Very gingerly. Draw these up a little bit. Guess I don't really need that extension on there anymore. Now that is only plastic, so use your noodle. Let me get a torque wrench, we'll give her the final torque spec. Well, the coolant temp sensor removal procedure didn't go as planned. It has a teeny tiny little retainer you gotta push down to get it past around because it just puts in quarter turns. The second I touched it, it just fell apart. It was so brittle. I should have known better and ordered a new one from the beginning, but I didn't. Because for some reason I thought it came in the housing. I must be thinking of the GM housings. Anyhow, they have one in the stock. They will be sending. So we're gonna click that in there. We can hook up everything else. I don't think we're gonna have a problem, right? I don't think so. Be sure to line up your hose clamps. Fastest way to lose it at the car show, not having your clamps lined up. Judge sees that. I don't know if they'll throw you out, but it ain't good. A little bit of lube on that. It really offends a lot of people. It's kind of bizarre. Apparently that destroys your vehicle. Silicone poisons the something. I don't know, they talk about all this poisoning. It sure makes it nice for the next guy who's got to pull his tube off, I'll tell you that. There's that. I assume what people are talking about is, you know, the extremely rare instance when there's an oxygen sensor failure and they assume it's from silicone poisoning from somebody using the incorrect silicone in, you know, silicone sealer. Mixes with the engine oil and allegedly can cause problems over time with the O2 sensor. It gets kind of comical if you start looking online. You know, people stating like even spraying a silicone spray mist anywhere near the car in the air will suck it into the intake system, causing irreversible damage. Anyhow, takes all kinds, I suppose. Okay, let's get the air box shoved back down in here. And then wait for that sensor to show up. We could probably fill it with coolant with that out, and that'll, you know, assure us that we're bled out well. And I'm gonna take the overflow tank off here while we're waiting for that. Be a good practice, and get that cleaned out. Make sure I leave that when it's peeing. We'll get that cleaned out all the way, make sure there's no sediment floating around in that. So that cleaned up nice, all the junk came out of it. What I like to do is just, you can do just, you know, hot water, a little Dawn dish soap. And I have a piece of chain, a small piece of, you know, chain. I guess I drop in there and you shake it around. You can do the same thing with, you know, you throw a handful of gravel in there and, you know, shake it around and it'll bust up all those chunks and you, of course you just dump it out. I pull the little chain back out the top and that's how I clean them. We should be in good shape to start filling it back up. Now remember the sensor is out. So like I said, it's going to help in our bleed procedure. This uses the Mopar 5-year coolant. I don't know what the aftermarket equivalent is. I think G05, but I could be wrong with that. All right, we're right to the bottom of that sensor hole. There's a little bubble right there. I think it would be in our best interest at this point to wait. So on these coolant sensors, there's this little tiny tab right. I don't even want to touch it on the new one. This little tiny plastic tab, and very, very fragile. And that's what locks it in when you stick it in place here. Kind of wiggle that O-ring down. Find the groove. There we go, there's the groove. And then that's it. And you just spin it and it's locked in. Kind of bit of a cruddy design, but GM does it, Ford does it, Chrysler does it. They all have a rendition of this coolant sensor, whether it's held in with a little metal clip or just hopes and dreams on most of them. I'm going to finish filling it up here and then we'll get it started up and see what kind of hot air we have. Heard the fan cycle yet, but the thermostat is obviously open. Hose is hot. I took the cap off before there was pressure in it. That's full. Overflow jug's full. Got about 189, 190. Blowing out of the dash is about $1.50. So almost 70 degrees for our Canadian viewers. But hot, hot, hot. All right.
say I was about 153 there when I pulled that out, which is great. It's good unless you're cooking a steak. And if you take your steak to 153, I suggest you're moving it from the grill and throwing it directly into the dog dish. Unless you like your steaks medium well. So that's it. Seems to have really good heat, even at an idle, when I had it there idle and when I was checking the radiator there, it was still really good. It was like 148, so it didn't drop much. Sometimes if you have circulation problems through the heater core, you'll only have good heat when the RPMs are up. But that's it. So pretty easy job. I think we caught it just in time, to get rid of that slimy substance before it becomes a very hard and cakey substance. And there was quite a bit of it that came out. I was kind of surprised. And I did notice also when I was doing the overflow jug, as soon as I hit it with just even hot water, it really started to kind of dissolve it and was very easy to clean out. So if the guy had waited much longer, I think it would be a much bigger problem. Let that be a lesson to you, whatever the lesson to be learned there is. Service your cooling systems. And go down and service yourself in the self-service comment section, Insta, Facebook. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.